Hello, boys and girls, this is Anders, of course, and I hope you guys are having a good Friday, or possibly Saturday, depending on when I upload this video. Anyways, as you guys know, I'm not the best guy in a jet, but a lot of you guys have requested that I would make some new videos showing off how the jets work now, and basically how to kind of behave in a jet to get the maximum fun out of them, because face it, you play Battlefield, you play in tanks, jets and cars, and also on the ground. But as I said again, I'm not the best jet pilot, so I'm gonna try to give you guys as good tips as possible with the skill level I got. And when it comes to the jets, there's one important thing you always want to think about, is to kill the enemy jets first. Kill both enemy jets and then go for helicopters and then go for ground vehicles. You always want air superiority. No matter if you're a beginner or if you're a veteran, you always want to kill the enemy air first before you actually start attacking the ground targets. A very good thing to use as a beginner is of course the homing missiles. Rocket pods you still have to unlock anyways. Rocket pods are great for attacking tanks, for example, but you're gonna have a lot more fun if you have some homing missiles, because homing missiles do a lot of good work. And of course, if you have it unlocked, I would always recommend you using the fire extinguisher, just like I'm using here, because if you play kind of smart and you shoot and scoot, then of course you can get away. Good example here. Got an enemy helicopter that I'm battling with right now. It's trying to lock on to me. So what I do is I climb straight up in the air, because enemy helicopters, if they're trying to aim for you when you're above them, they're of course gonna crash into the ground. It might kill you, but they're gonna kill themselves in the process, and that's way better than running off horizontally instead of vertical. Horizontal means play straight like a road, and vertical means upwards like a skyscraper, just so you guys know what I'm talking about, because some of you might not be familiar with those kinds of words. Anyways, as you see, it worked great. I went straight up in the air and then I attacked the helicopter from above and got an easy kill on him. Quickly spots, of course, enemy air again, because they had time to respawn, because I battled the helicopter for quite a long time. And now I got an enemy in front of me and also one behind me. And what you always want to do when you get into one of these positions, as you can see, I'm using my fire extinguisher there, so my plane won't blow up. It gives me a little bit of extra time. You want to move around as quickly as possible. You want to make erratic, weird movements and turns. But in the end, it's probably going to come down to who turns the best. So, for example, if the enemy pilot is a little bit better than you on turning in a circle, that is, because usually you do the circle jerking, at least I call it, when an enemy pilot is behind you and you're in the front, or vice versa. I like to actually go up in the air in a spiral, so on his radar it still looks like you're going around trying to chase him, or he's trying to chase you, but in reality you're actually going above them, and then you can dive down and attack them from above. And that's one of the greatest tips I can actually give you. It's kind of hard to execute, so that's something you have to kind of train on, so to say, before you actually get it. So here I go for the attack, and of course I shoot only one rocket, and then I wait with my second rocket. Sadly though, his pal here is doing his job really well, so when I'm actually trying to kill him, his friend is of course trying to save him instead, and blows me the fuck up. So great work there. So that's the other lesson. Try to be a good co-pilot. Even though you don't have anyone else in your plane, in your jet, you want to try to help the friendlies in the other jet on your team, simply because if you're two guys in the air, that means that there's two guys the enemy has to kill before he can actually like have air superiority. And again, air superiority is worth a lot, because you can easily snipe infantry, and especially if you're in a tank buster, you can snipe tanks and other vehicles as well extremely well. And here we got this enemy jet. I'm trying to follow it as much as possible. Sadly though, he crashes into the ground. But what you want to do when you're following another jet when he's flying really low is try to anticipate where he's gonna turn, so you actually, we call it genskjuter in Swedish, and that's basically when you pick the shortest route to where you think he is going to be. Right now I can't remember the English word for it, I'm sorry. So basically, what kinds of equipment do I recommend having on your jet? Depends kind of what you want to do. If it's a rush map where you're attacking and defending, then you should always have the lock-on missiles, because you can always use your main gun. It's just terrible, or terribly damaging to tanks, rather, since it is a tank busting plane. They do a lot of damage. But if you are a pretty good pilot, you might actually do a lot better with the rocket pods. For example, like a map like here where it's regular fighter jets instead of tank buster jets, simply because then you have a weapon that can beat air targets quite well as well. You can simply aim for tanks and other hard targets, for example like an anti-tank vehicle and stuff like that, and get some good kills simply that way. But since I'm not very good in air or in the jets, I prefer going with stealth, simply so the enemy can't lock onto me as quickly, fire extinguisher, and of course the homing missiles, the anti-air missiles. And I'm using the anti-air missiles, as I said, because I'm not very skilled. And look at this, now my friend, he actually comes and helps me, so now it's a 2 versus 1 situation, and this way he can stay on his tail and I can kind of dodge in and out of the situation and just take pot shots. But there you can see, now a second jet joins the fight and he's going after my friend. So the first thing I want to do then is of course go for the enemy jet to try to keep my friend safe here so he can help me out. So enemy jet is disabled. I know he's probably gonna go down, but I still want to kind of finish him off, so I go in for the kill slow and nice. And now the enemy jet got me in its sights, and I'm hoping here that my friendly jet is gonna come and help me out, since I helped him. But sadly, things don't always go as you planned. As you can see, I get shot down, so it's off to wait for the jet again. And this is something I would recommend you go on a server maybe where it's fast respawn on the jets if you're completely new to playing in jets. But if you played a couple of hours so you kind of know what you're doing, I recommend going on a normal vanilla server where it takes a minute or two for the jets to actually spawn in. Otherwise it's gonna be just... It hasn't to do much with skill, but rather just you jump in the plane, try to shoot down the enemy. If you're lucky, yeah, that's good. But then he's just gonna take off in another jet in like 5 seconds later. So it's kind of, you have to basically you have to think about it yourself, like what is gonna give you the most good training, and that is playing on a server where there is no instant respawn, but it actually takes a couple of minutes for the jets to spawn in again. So it's not a matter of just one dude spawning in 10,000 times and killing you, or you doing the same, but rather trying to survive, keep your jet intact, help out the team. When you kill both of the enemy jets, you go for ground targets. So like this situation that my team is in right now, like we got their airfield, so they can't actually spawn any more jets, so that's a great opportunity to start going for the hover mode, especially in the F-35, and just start shooting infantry, start shooting soft targets. And this is also one of those times where having rocket pods would have been way more effective, because I could go after tanks in a much better fashion. So I don't really know why I didn't respawn with the rocket pods instead of the homing missiles like I have right now. I think it was just pure stupidity. Again, I'm not very good in the jet. I'm just trying to give you guys like basic tips that are gonna help out a little bit. There's probably gonna be a lot of you guys who are way better pilots than me giving me a few tips in the comments, and I do appreciate that. It's very nice of you guys, though I'm not a big jet pilot, so I probably won't fly that much more, to be honest. As you can see now, I just barely managed to fly under that bridge. Since I had my landing gear out, I actually survived the hit with the wall, since it was a little bit angled, and then actually landed kind of on the shoreline, and then took off right before the water got too deep. I gotta say, that is some pure freaking luck. And as you can see, since I don't have any flares, any enemy missiles that are fired towards me are going to hit unless if I manage to dodge them. It was way easier to dodge missiles before. All you did was if you kind of knew where the missile was fired from, after a little bit you're kind of going to learn how many seconds is left before the missile is gonna hit you, and like when it's 1 or 2 seconds before the missile is gonna hit you, all you did was turn very sharply and the missile would basically miss you, like I'm trying to do there, but I failed horribly. But yeah, that's gonna be pretty much all the tips I can give you guys. There's not much more I can think of right now. We covered the shoppers, we covered using the extinguisher. Oh yes, if you are one of those guys who don't have the extinguisher yet, or maybe if you don't like using the extinguisher, of course you should go for ECM smoke, and if you go for ECM smoke, you should always pop it right before the enemy missile is going to fire, not before it hits, and if you go for the IR flares, then pop it right before the missile is going to hit you after they fired it. But as usual, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.